Hello everyone and welcome to Friday morning's assembly. Thank you very much tutors for showing this morning. Hope you've had a good week, and we're going to talk this morning about behaviour for learning at the Weald. Unlike Bart Simpson, we know that your behaviour around the school at the Weald is absolutely great. How do we know this? Because visitors tell us this really very frequently. Even period 6 on Fridays, when we do tours around the school, those visitors see classrooms that are calm and purposeful. They see students who are respectful to visitors, and even people who come here for interview to the school always comment to us about how brilliant students are, how respectful they are, and how well-mannered they are. And that's everybody. That's not just a few students, that's everybody. So we know that, that visitors think the behaviour here is brilliant. Members of the public frequently ring us or email us to tell us how fantastic people are, just whether it's helping someone across the road or looking out for each other or picking up litter, those sorts of things. We get a lot of those, and that's always really nice as well. After every parents' evening, we ask parents to do a survey and we always follow up on any issues that they raise with us, but 90% of the comments that we get are really positive from parents that tell us how wonderful our students are, and of course we know this. But actually your teachers think so too. You might not think this, but actually your teachers really do think that your behaviour is brilliant too. This pie chart here shows a breakdown of positive and negative behaviour since we came back to school for this academic year back in September, for every single student across the school. This is week in, week out then, so far since last September. On here are 121,000 positive hits, and that's positive behaviour house points, versus 17,000 negative behaviour points. So that's a ratio of 87 to 13%, which is just staggeringly good. So that's your teachers giving you all those house points and telling us how fantastic you are as well. So all those things mean that we know that the Weald is a great place to learn. We also know though, because we do a lot of student voice and talk to students every fortnight to find out what they think about our school. And we know that actually sometimes some of you think that behaviour isn't perhaps quite as good as you'd like it to be. But what we also know, because the final question we always do in those interviews when we talk about, when we ask students about the school, is would you recommend this school to someone else? They always say yes. Never has anyone said no. So all in all, a really great place to learn. Here's how together we make it like that. This is not just the staff or just Mr. Woodman, it's everybody, all of us, all members of our community make it like this. Everything we do as a school is about making a contribution towards students becoming honest, upright and decent citizens who have integrity. And that means they do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, not just because they get punished if they don't. So our tone and ethos of respect, high expectations with no excuses, and our focus on continual improvement. And that means for staff and for students, it means all of us always think there are ways that we can do things slightly better, and we always want feedback on that. So this is what we don't have at the Weald. We don't have a behaviour tariff system, and what that means is if you do X thing wrong, then Y punishment will happen to you. We don't have that here. We have a system instead where we talk about doing the right thing. We also don't have a lot of explicit rules. So there are some schools where you have to walk in silence down the corridors between lessons. And in order to start the day, you have to go and stand in the courtyard and register in silence as if it's a fire bell every single morning. We don't have that here. That's not how we work. We work much more, like I've said already, on a system of respect and acceptance of each other, and that actually we do it because it's the right thing to do. You'll have seen in your classrooms lots of posters around about our 5 golden rules, and this is what we've talked to teachers about this year in terms of our expectations for what we know makes a really good lesson. We know that it works really nicely when teachers are at the door meeting and greeting classes. We know that it's really helpful when teachers are positively consistent and consistently positive. That's a really difficult one, but we know that it works. We also know that when people are calm and that they talk to each other calmly and without any anger, then that helps as well, because that prevents issues arising before any sanctions are needed. We also expect students not to engage in any negotiation or debate, and staff to leave that if students are being argumentative, and actually to follow it up later, because staff are busy teaching a whole lesson. They haven't got time to deal with individual issues like that. The other thing we know that's really important that we've had a big push on this year is making sure we're picking up lateness to lessons. So those 5 golden rules you've seen all around the school, I'm sure. The other thing you'll have seen on classroom walls is the expectations for you in terms of ready, respectful, working and safe. And you have a really big responsibility to contribute to the learning environment in this school with this ready, respectful, working, safe. You should be coming to school ready to learn with the right equipment, on time, and you should be actively participating in the lesson. You should be polite and making sure you're respectful to people that you're working with, appropriate behaviour for learning throughout your lessons. You should be working hard during your lessons. That might mean sometimes periods of silence, but also it'll mean working well with other people. It also means developing resilience when your lessons get tough. Then also being safe, of course, sensible behaviour and following instructions straight away. And the important thing about that, of course, is that it keeps everyone safe. Sometimes, though, we get things wrong, and we all do. You will have noticed that on our wildly important goals, our 5 golden rules, on ready, respectful, working and safe, not anywhere does it say every student must behave perfectly all the time. It doesn't say that because we don't expect that. People do get things wrong. So actually what we do want, though, is people trying their best. And sometimes when things go wrong, these are some of the things that you might have happened, that you might have seen in lessons, that you get a warning, you might be moved seats, you might be asked to stand outside very quickly, you might get a behaviour hit, you might get a sort of a short immediate sanction like staying behind at the end of a lesson and cleaning up a classroom. You might be parked in a different classroom, you might have your parents contacted, and you might be put on subject report. All of those things do happen if we get things wrong. Sometimes, though, that's not enough, and teachers need to set a detention in order to try and rectify behaviour that needs to stop. So this is just for class teachers, really, and making sure this is what happens in classes, and we've ever so slightly changed our detention system. So we've now got 4 stages. Stage 1 is same as always. A class teacher sets a detention and your parents are informed of that via our automatic system called Class Charts that sends an email home straight away. Okay, you attend that detention, that's it, job done, we move on. Sometimes though, on very rare occasions, students don't attend a detention. If that happens, you go to stage 2 and that becomes a subject leader detention, which is the same as we already have, except that this will happen the next day, so as soon as possible, because we know that when sanctions carry on over a long period of time, they don't work because people have forgotten what they were for to begin with. So we want it really quickly the next day. On very, very rare occasions, students don't attend those, and that's where you go to a stage 3 detention. This is the new bit. We currently have a system where we have a Wednesday afternoon whole school detention. And that can be quite a long time where since you've done something wrong to ending up in a whole school detention. And you're sitting in a classroom with a whole load of, well, actually not very many, but just a few other students, and a teacher who's not the member of staff who was the teacher where you did something wrong. So you're sitting there in a different classroom with a different teacher, maybe you can't even remember what it was that you did wrong to begin with. So actually, we don't think that works particularly well. It's really, really rare, those detentions as well. We only ever have about 6 to 8 students each week out of 1,750 students in our school. That is 0.4% of our population in that detention each week. That's tiny. So we've got rid of that, and what we're doing now is a stage 3 detention where a senior leader will come and pick up a student from the end of the day and deal with them and make sure that that detention is done. Okay, that's really, really important, again, to make that as quick as possible the very next day. Again, your parents are going to be informed. Your parents are going to get quite cross with you at this stage because they could have had now 3 emails to tell them that you still haven't attended a detention. So we need to make sure that happens, and we'll pick that up as quickly as we possibly can. On a very, very rare occasion, if that doesn't happen after 3 stages, 3 attempts of getting you into a detention, then you will be in the Ready to Learn room. But that happens, I mean, we're talking about a minuscule amount of the time. So that really is just a tiny change to what we already have. And like I said at the start, we have a really, really excellent behaviour for learning culture at this school, which is absolutely brilliant. Everybody tells us that we know we have. It's underpinned by 3 important things at the bottom there, with character, well-being and consistency in terms of our culture across the school. And across the top, of course, we've got keeping people safe, having the best outcomes for our students, and in the middle there, behaviour. So what we really expect is not for students to be perfect all the time. What we do expect, though, is for students to do their best and to try, and where things don't go right, to admit it and to work with us to help so that actually any undesirable behaviour can be stopped quickly through a quick conversation with a member of staff, and then we move on to our business of learning. That's the most important thing. So that's really it this morning in terms of behaviour for learning. I've given your tutors a list of frequently asked questions, which I think might help, because you might have some questions at this point that you want to talk to each other and talk to your tutor about. And so please do that. But essentially the message really is we have brilliant behaviour at this school. We have fantastic behaviour for learning in classrooms. We see it day in, day out from period 1 to period 6 every single day of the week. Sometimes things don't go right. When it doesn't go right, we have to put something in place to help with that, to try and stop it, and do that quickly. And that's what our new system is designed to do, to try and do it as quickly as possible. Keeping parents informed, obviously, all the time, and making sure that any detentions are done as quickly as we possibly can. And all of that means that we can then get on with our business of learning really, really well and getting the best outcomes that we can. Okay, I just have a couple of quick messages that are not related to that main detention, but just a couple of quick notices for today. Just a reminder about uniform. Well done, everybody, in terms of not wearing blazers. That's been absolutely fine. Barely seen any sleeves rolled up or jumpers, so please keep that going. Well done. If it does get colder, remember, you cannot wear any other coat or jumper. You just need to put your blazer back on. So thank you for that. Well done still for brilliant behaviour on the field. Thank you for picking up all the rubbish and making sure you're moving towards period 5 quickly. We need to do that before the end of lunchtime, otherwise we're late. Students who come into school early in the morning, who are there before 8:25 a.m, if you've got any kind of emergency and you need to find a member of staff, then you can go to the head of house office, to main reception, or to the sixth form office where you'll find people, because the duty staff don't start until 8:25. From that time onwards, you'll see staff out and about on duty if you need someone. And the final message is about the Forge Way gate. So if you come into school by the bus lanes, if you walk into school, if you come in by the bus lanes and you come in the top gate, the one nearest to Forge Way, that's going to be locked from Monday. You'll have to walk down and come in the main gate by the sixth form entrance so that we can do uniform checks. Just a little bit further to walk, but I'm sure you'll cope. And in the afternoons, it'll be open as normal, so it's just in the mornings there with that. Okay, thank you very much for listening, everyone.